As the silver screen's light flickers, as the moments of dreams and fantasy play across your eyes, sad moments that make you cry, or moments of pure joy, and those moments you connect with, transporting you off into the imagination of cinema. My name is Luis Lacau, and this is a look into the history of films. In New York, 1982, this is a film that encapsulates the New York underground punk/mod movement, and this stars Susan Berman and Brad Rinn, and this is an incredible movie. It's called Smithereens, and I had the personal pleasure of watching this on the Criterion channel. And it's basically about this teenager from New Jersey that moves to New York, but in very much the punk rock culture of the time, of the early 80s, the first generation punk rock. They kind of move in with no plan, no motivation, no kind of security blanket, other than the fact that they know that they could always run back to their parents. And this film encapsulates this perfectly, because this main character, played by Susan Berman, Wren, is actually caught in between this love triangle between Paul, played by Brad Rinn, and Eric, played by Richard Hell. And they both basically find a different type of relationship with her. Paul is this very much adventurous, kind of wants to roam out of his comfort zone, and moves out and grabs a van and moves out of his city and travels to New York and stumbles across Wren in a very interesting way, and they kind of become instant friends because of this incident. And when they do, Wren kind of grabs onto him and takes him along on this adventure, and very much like we all do in our high school or late teen years, it's kind of this mad dash adventure with somebody that's willing to take you on this adventure. Wren is that person. Wren is that person that has been always super highly motivated, super able to basically con anybody and talk to anybody and kind of bring everybody around, smooth talker and all that stuff. And she's played perfectly by Susan in this role, and she encapsulates her from beginning to end of this film. You actually feel that character is her, and it's pretty incredible seeing that kind of narcissistic personality bleed through from the actress, and you could tell that there's some depth to that character just in the hour and a half that you see her on screen. And Wren captures this perfectly. Paul is trying to help her grow as a person and kind of shy away from this side of her, because he sees the true potential in her and sees that she could be so much more. But what she wants is, she wants to fall in love with a rock star. She wants this kind of luxurious lifestyle that it's all about debauchery, and that's where I think she's aiming for, and she's trying to capture this type of behavior, but she doesn't do it well, because she gets eaten alive in this scene, because this scene is made up of hundreds of thousands of her, people that are exactly like her, that are this kind of narcissistic and very much are the exact same way. And then she runs into this one member of a band named Eric, and he's the singer of this band, and he has these high hopes of moving to LA, and he is a member of this band called Smithereens. Thus the title of the film, Smithereen. And it's interesting to see Wren and Eric on their adventure together, because they kind of have these two narcissistic personalities, yet she becomes the subdued one, the less dominant, the submissive one. And then in the Paul relationship, she is the assertive one. She is the dominant one. So it's very interesting seeing her switch up characters and roles in the relationships and in the film. And the way that it's played, it's so well and so incredibly done that you believe every moment of it. From the beginning to the end, you believe every single moment. Her interactions with her family, her friends, is incredible because they all drive to appease her. All the people in her life are either against her or with her. And if they're with her, they're being used by her. And I think that's fascinating because a lot of us, that's how we feel a lot of times. We either feel that somebody's against us or we're going to use them for some form or another. And that sucks. That shouldn't be the way that life is lived. And that's where Paul is kind of trying to change her, to see that there's another side to life, that there's another way to life. I think we all go through this as kids, especially teenagers, that we're kind of lost and kind of out there, and we're trying to find our place in this world. And that's what this story at its heart, at its core, is all about. It's about the interactions. The way that it's portrayed, though, it's very much like the French New Wave. So it's a lot of handheld camera, a lot of like free roaming through the streets, and there's a lot of interesting shots that portray the emotion of the characters. Again, it goes back to that very French New Wave style, and it feels like a Godard film, but done by an American director. And she does a phenomenal job in this film. The way that she paces the film and the way that she cuts the film together in the end is pretty incredible because it actually does build the tension that you need for each of the characters. And the way that this is the precursor to movies like SLC Punk, like Clerks, all these kind of Suburbia, all these teenage angst films. You could feel that this is where it came from. This is where Slacker, Clerks, all these movies came from. This is where they derived their origins from. And you could tell that there is a lot of common ground. And let's be honest, when we're teenagers, this is the type of anxiety that we go through. This is the kind of like angst that we have and are wanting to leave a mark on this world. I think that's one of the most important human traits. And some people have it, some people don't. And I think this character, Ren, actually really, really wants to leave a mark on the world. And she realizes she's just this ordinary girl from Jersey. And there's nothing wrong with that, though. And that's what Paul's trying to get across. Paul's trying to get across the fact that, yes, you're an ordinary girl from Jersey. I'm an ordinary guy from God knows where the hell because he lies about where he comes from. But we're both headed in the same direction. We're both heading to do the same thing. Even though I'm saying I'm going to go to Boston, that's not a different direction for you. What difference is there? Wherever you want to go, wherever you lay your head is home. And that is very true in this film. And I think it's very true in life. And the way that this film portrays New York and the scene of punk and everything, the way that you live a lifestyle as a kid, I think is very important because people, especially at that age, are confused. They have no idea. They think that they're alone in the world. Now we're lucky enough to have the internet where we could basically just voice our opinion, and there's so many people in the world that there's bound to be at least a few thousand people that agree with your view on the world. So now we have that kind of social media. But in the 80s, we didn't. We didn't have somebody that told us, dude, it's common for you to feel like this, feel this social angst. The only source that we had was TV and movies. That's it. In high school, it was this melting pot of people. So you didn't know if it was normal to be like this. And what are the chances if you're in a small town to have this? So, yeah, I think that this film encapsulates that perfectly. Now, when it comes to the actual cinematic side of this film, I love it. It's shot with these kind of intercut, these quick cuts, close shots, medium shots. There's not very many long shots away, and it's not needed for this type of film because this is all about the interconnectivity. It's all about that close combat between humans, that close combat emotionally between humans and teenagers especially, that we all endure from a day-to-day basis, and we all encounter this on a regular basis, is finding that way to fight for our lives with every other human in a subway, in a walkway, waiting in line for something, and trying to find the guts to stand up and say something to connect with somebody else. That's what this film's about, and that's why having those close-ups, having those medium shots where you're feeling close to these characters that you have never met in your life before, yet you feel that connection instantly from the moment you start watching this film to the very last seconds on celluloid. And that's for a reason. This is supposed to be an interpersonal film, and it very much does that very, very well. And a lot of that has to play to the cinematographer, but also the director, because Susan Seidelman is the director of this film. This is her first feature film, and let me tell you, it's incredible that this is her first feature film. This is such a personal story, and something so... it feels personal. And if it's not a personal story on her part, that's incredible. Because, yeah, it's really, really incredible that if this is not her own story that she actually put together, because it feels like it. And the cinematographer is Shireen El Kadam, and it's incredible what's done with this film. It feels very gritty. It feels very New York. It's edited together by Susan Seidelman herself, and I'm pretty sure that was done on purpose. That was something that she needed to get done appropriately. And being a first film, I'm pretty sure she needed to cut the film herself, because it was so personal to her. And I see that each of the scenes have a representation. Each of the scenes build out the momentum of these characters further and further. And I think that a lot of times we forget what these connective films are about, because there's so much trash out there. There's so many just no-brain films out there. We forget what classic cinema really looks like. This is classic cinema. These are films that will stand the test of time. These are not films like the Marvel movies, for lack of a better term, that are popcorn movies that will fall apart at the whim of a critic, a film critic, and that won't stand the test of time. These superhero movies, yeah, there's some that stand out way above all the others and are phenomenal films, but there's so very few considering how many films are actually made of them. And these are films that stand the test of time. It's these type of films that connect with you and have this everlasting impression on you. So the editing of this film is just, it's superb. It's quick paced. It's quick cuts in some scenes, and some scenes they linger. And that's incredible that they linger, because it's such a risque thing to do with actors that have never acted before in a professional film. And this is a first-time director too. There's so many risks in allowing an actor to just completely play a scene. And the way that she does it in this film, it's well done. And the actors have a huge part to play in that they could actually hold up and do this without any fear whatsoever. So I really appreciate this film. I give this film, I would say, an 8.5 out of 10. I definitely recommend if you could track it down. It's definitely worth a buy. I personally purchased it as soon as I finished watching it. That's how good it was and how much I really wanted to see more of the special features and all that stuff. And I have been able to listen to the commentary already, and it is incredible. It's really good. The Criterion Collection version of this is really phenomenally restored, and on top of that, the commentary and special features are really, really good, and definitely give a lot of added value to the film itself. So I hope you appreciated this review, and I'll see you guys soon for another episode of Manbitesretro. My name is Luis, and see you guys soon.
As the songs of awakening rang through, the world was created. The silence was broken.
Middle-earth, with its rolling hills, broken mountains, flowing rivers, and beautiful forest, was created.
Cellar Door is a journey into the mythology, the mystery, and the beauty of Middle-earth. Sit back.
Close your eyes.
And imagine.